Howard Louie Bluie Armstrong grew up in the Appalachian town of La Follette, Tennessee. La Follette was created in the late 1800s when Harvey and Grant La Follette founded the La Follette Coal, Iron, and Railway Company. Howard's father worked for the company in the blast furnace, but Howard grew up to become a musician and visual artist. My name's Sean McCullough, and I'm here with my friends in La Follette, Tennessee. I'm standing next to an old railroad trestle that leads down to the blast furnace where Howard Armstrong's father worked. Howard and his family lived in a neighborhood about 4 blocks that direction, and his dad would walk right past here every day to get to work. In this video, we want to teach you a little bit more about Howard Armstrong. You know, sometimes he called himself Louie Bluie when he played music. Growing up in Appalachia, Howard faced discrimination for being poor and black. He had many obstacles to overcome, yet he overcame those obstacles and became a musician and artist who is known all over the world.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Howard Louie Bluie Armstrong was an inspiration. As you learn more about Howard Louie Bluie Armstrong in this video, think about your goals in life. What are you dreaming of achieving? What are some of the obstacles that stand in your way? How can you overcome them? We'll come back to those questions at the end of the video, and we might play a little bit too.
I want you to step it up and go. Because if you can't keep up, you sure enough can't catch up. And I'm gone, you hear me? I'm dusting my broom.
That's such a fun song. You know, the legend of John Henry's been turned into a bit of a tall tale, but it's based on a real man who worked building the railroads in Appalachia. The railroads, of course, were necessary for the coal mines to operate, and as I mentioned earlier, the coal mines helped build towns like La Follette and brought families like Howard's to the area.
But while the railroads, coal mines, and other industries brought jobs, many people who moved to the area for those jobs were still poor. Despite working hard, it was difficult to get ahead in life.
On top of this, Howard grew up in the 1910s and 20s, well before the achievements of the civil rights movement of the 1960s. During his childhood and young adulthood, black people were subject to Jim Crow laws. These laws made sure that they didn't have the same rights and opportunities as white people. The laws also enforced racial segregation.
That meant that black and white children had to go to different schools, and they couldn't use the same parks, libraries, or even drinking fountains. Howard talked about how he wasn't supposed to play with the white children, but he did anyway.
But we little poverty knows no color line. We little little black kids and little white kids would all play together and everything. I know a little boy named Giuseppe Lobertino Italian. I'm going to take you home meet my uncle or my dad. I said, let's go.
This was in La Follette?
In La Follette. And I went on over there with them. And it so happened at that time I was reading and speaking Italian better grammatically than I was English, you know.
Howard had many of the same childhood experiences as most folks in Appalachia, but one thing that made him stand out was his talent for learning other languages. And there were a lot of languages to learn in La Follette. You know, during the late 1800s and early 1900s, many first-generation immigrants from European countries like Italy, Poland, Germany, and Ireland came to the mountains of Appalachia, and the railroads, coal mines, and other industries needed workers. So small Appalachian towns were full of people speaking things like Italian and Polish and German. For Howard, it not only meant that he got to learn other languages, it also meant that he got to learn how to play songs from other parts of the world.
Wapo go.
Here we go.
Ti wapo. Tong na tung quang in me. So link me ba. Miyake tate pong. She chi to you tung dong.
Sing la cucaracha, la cucaracha. Ya no puede caminar, porque no tiene, porque le falta.
Howard Armstrong is celebrated each year with a festival called the Louie Bluie Music and Arts Festival. That last song you heard was my co-host, Sean, and students from Howard's home county singing a song that Howard used to sing. Other musicians who used to play with Howard also come to the festival to remember and honor Howard in ways he would love, through stories, music, and art.
Every painting that you've seen in this video was done by Howard Armstrong. You've also heard what a great musician he is. So how did he accomplish so much with so many barriers in his way? In order to overcome those obstacles, he had to adapt and improvise.
When Howard was a child, his family didn't have the money to buy art supplies, so he would take crepe paper, get it wet, and squeeze the colors out to use as ink, and he used cat hairs for his paintbrushes. As he got better and better at his art, Howard could turn what was often a harsh reality to look at into a beautiful, colorful life drawing.
When he first started playing music, the instruments that he learned on were homemade. As he got older and tried to make a living playing music, he had to adapt to whatever situation he found himself in. So he learned to play the pop songs of the day alongside blues, jazz, folk, and songs from other parts of the world. He sometimes had to improvise. In other words, make things up on the spot. He got good at doing that both in his music and in his life.
Well, it's all right. Sing my song, it's all right. Won't take long. It's all right, this funny song of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine.
We've enjoyed talking to you about Howard Louie Bluie Armstrong and the obstacles he had to overcome to achieve his goals and to become a great artist and musician. Now let's get back to the questions I asked earlier. Think about your goals in life. What do you dream of achieving? What are some of the obstacles that stand in your way? How can you overcome them? We're going to help you get started. We're going to use the song we just sang, This Little Light of Mine, to help you. This Little Light of Mine is a song that comes from the African American church. It was used during the 1950s and 60s during the Civil Rights Movement by the young freedom fighters. They sang this song for inspiration, and sometimes they changed some of the lyrics to help suit how they felt and what they saw and what they did. Hey, Sean, what are some of your goals?
Well, you know what? I'd really kind of like to be like Howard Armstrong and play the fiddle.
All right, but do you have any obstacles you need to face in order to do that?
Well, yeah, I don't have a fiddle.
Okay.
For starters. And then I've heard it's just really, really hard, you know, and it takes a lot of time to learn how to play it, and I'm kind of busy guy, so I'm a little worried about that. But, you know, I've been thinking about it, and I thought maybe if I save just a little money every week, just put some in my piggy bank, and then once I have a fiddle, if I just set aside, 10, 15 minutes every day to practice, then maybe that would work.
You know, that really sounds like the beginning of a new version of This Little Light of Mine. We can take that and put it in a song. Let's make our own version. And Chris, you can help us play it.
All right, that sounds like a good idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I wanna learn to play the fiddle. I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna save a little money every week. I'm gonna let it shine. Gonna practice a little every day. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
it's your turn. Can you compose your own lyrics to this little light of mine, like Howard Louie Bluie Armstrong? Can you improvise? Hey, Sean, take us home. Can you improvise on that mandolin while they come up with their own lyrics?
Let's do it.
John Henry was a little baby boy, sat on his pappy's knee with this long and lonesome cry. Hammer's gonna be the death of me someday. Hammer's gonna be the death of me. Yes, that hammer's gonna be the death of me. Hammer's gonna be the death of me. John Henry told his steel shaker, shaker, don't you know you better pray? If I miss this piece of steel, tomorrow's gonna be your burying day now. Tomorrow's gonna be your burying day. Yes, tomorrow's gonna be your burying day. Tomorrow's